And welcome everybody to Rick Snider's Washington on YouTube, where you get the whole story. So please like, share, subscribe, comment, even hit the thanks button. See if I can line up properly here. The algorithm loves when I say that, so I'm just waiting for Steve to pop up first. Where are you, Steve? We're 10, 17 seconds into the show, slacker. All right, I'll let everybody go. We're just kind of rounding everybody up. Another day of practice. Oh, long day. Uh, Watching this stuff. But it's going to get busier and busier, as they say. All right. And if you are watching, let's see. All right. First one's in. Is it you, Steve? There you go. Steve's first again. All right. Okay. So we'll just let everybody jump in at 6 o'clock. All right. We had a great show on Friday. We actually did a live chat during the game in an hour and a half delay, but like 1,100 people came. So thank you all for that. If you're watching on replay later, the whole show's here. Just as soon as we're done, after about an hour, it goes to replay. So probably about half the people watching on replay. So I appreciate that. Team practice this morning, hot as blazes as usual. And then typical Washington summer, we had one hell of a storm just go through. Now we're just a sweaty, hot mess that's wet on there. And Corey's here. Thank you, Corey, for coming. I'd say about 3,000 people came to practice this morning is my best guess on that. So this is the last week. If you want to go to practice, to get tickets are free, of course. And Saturday is the last one. And Saturday is going to be Fan Appreciation Day. And let me just say, it's nuts. Go a different day than Fan Appreciation Day because it's just so overrun. It's a Saturday, so people can all come. Keith, thanks for coming. So, and then after that, practices are closed to the public, and I think I can watch like another week or two, and then we only get to watch practice a little bit. Josh Snider's in the house. Great, glad you spell your name correctly on there. So, we're still looking at the. I mean, today practice, I say the defense was once again ahead of the offense. I thought the quarterbacks were decent overall, kind of like you would say about the same thing as the Cleveland game. Struggled at times and played well at times. Defense, they get paid too. Thought the pass rush showed a little something more today. You saw the quarterbacks kind of going, whoa, because, they don't allow a lot to hit them. Secondary came up with a couple picks. I thought Forbes has been on Terry McLaurin a lot, and it's been a good matchup. And Forbes got the better of it, I think, today overall. That wasn't Terry's fault necessarily. It's where the ball's thrown, but I thought that was a pretty good one. Commanders are sending out a notice. What is going on with them? Please don't be anything dumb. I'm too tired. I start these days at 6 a.m., so I would rather not anything stupid happen at night on there. So overall, pretty good atmosphere. Sam Cosme, I guess you would say it's a light knee injury, but it was pretty. He came back to practice. Basically, he came down on it wrong, and somebody hit his knee at the same time, and I was about 15 yards away, and I can tell you, Cosme was in real pain. I mean, that hurt, and he limped off, but he came back, so I guess it was okay. Just kind of hurt at the same time. Mojo Daddy asked me with the addition of Zeke, the Patriots, and Calvin Cook to the Jets. I think those two potential wins are now losses. Well, I'm not necessarily thinking they were wins, to be honest with you. So, Slam and Jammin's back, doing it. Hal's the real deal quarterback. This O-line could really sink the team. That's pretty much been what I've said to people since camp started, since the off-season camps. They go, how's the season going to go? I've always said it. I'm not worried about how. I'm worried about the line. And I think that kind of came out in the Cleveland game. I was surprised Wiley struggled as much as he did. I thought he was going to be one of the better ones. Cosme, I guess he'll be okay, but you wonder about that. Gates, I thought was mediocre. Sadiq Charles is hurt. Gee, big shocker there. I mean, the dude's been hurt almost 90% of the time or something these years. He was a good lineman on a national champion at LSU. They thought they got a steal. He just has never been able to stay healthy. Logan Thomas didn't practice today. He also has had, health issues for 3 years now. And they're being cautious, but they're always being cautious. Yeah, we'll see. I thought Cole Turner, he looked good the other day. I watched him practice today, drop a couple balls. I don't want to say he's 50-50, but he's very capable of making some really good plays. And then he's capable of just dropping a stupid ball. So he's got to get better about that. You know, Everybody saw John Bates drop one against Cleveland. You're like, oh man, how did you do that? That was a simple one. So everybody's got to get better. But for a first game, it wasn't bad. The defense, I thought, the first drive, they got sliced and diced, and they held on at the goal line. But still, you shouldn't look like that. So everybody's got something to work on this next week. Now they play, they practice against Baltimore in Baltimore the next 2 days, and then they play the Ravens next Monday. So I won't do this next Monday. Maybe I'll do it Tuesday. Um, can't do both. I'll be at the game. So it's a nationally televised game for all of you. I wonder if you can watch it. But you can also always watch the game, the preseason games you can watch on the Commanders app. So just, a lot of people couldn't find it. Of course, the other day they were delayed 76 minutes by a thunderstorm. That was great fun. So I was talking to my friend Bran Weinstein. He was doing radio. He said they didn't have breaks, and they talked nonstop for 7 hours. I think I can't. I had to quit after about 2.5. Don't know. The new tight end guy, I saw him out there. Throwing a ball with the third team. From as a third string quarterback, between the game, just watching him at practice, makes some plays, misses some plays, which is why he's a third string quarterback. But unless they really find somebody they like in the cuts coming up, I think that they'll keep Fromm. And now a third quarterback can play in a game. Doesn't count against the active number, but he is the emergency quarterback. So it's a little more important now versus kick returners. With these new rules, I'm not sure how important kick returners are. And I really wonder because Casimir Allen, I think, has looked good in camp. Ron said some interesting things about him that basically kind of led me to believe that the guy just needs a lot of polish, and I'm not sure they're going to willing to do it. Maybe it's a practice squad thing, but they could use a returner. You need a returner, but it can't be just a returner on the roster. It's got to be a receiver or somebody that's this is a second job. It can't be a primary. Now with this new rule on returning kicks, so if we're talking about Mojo, if we're talking Dax Milne or Kaz, Dax has had a nice camp, but I think we've seen what he can do. I would probably go with Kaz Allen. He was a great returner in college. I think I would go there. That's going to be an interesting one. You saw a lot of receivers. Look at Pringle made a great play. How does he get on this roster? There's quite a few guys like that. I'm trying to see. Let me look at my roster real quick. I always forget names. But there's a bunch of guys on here. Let's see. Michael Tinsley has flashed at times. It's another one, and I can't think of the other guy. Let's see. Pringles look good. Oh, Marcus Kemp. I think he's had a really good camp. So they've got a lot of decent receivers. It's a really deep unit. Could you trade one for a reserve offensive lineman before it? Maybe. Teams don't really do that much, but maybe. It wouldn't be the worst thing. I was at Arby's. Arby's has a Christmas tree in the lobby. And my wife said, well, it's all 4th of July stuff. I said, sure, like we all have 4th of July Christmas trees. What's that about? So just eating dinner. Arby's got a new fish special. Money. I was actually at Crab House yesterday with family. So crabs are good right now. They're meaty, not too overpriced. This is the time. If you want to get crabs, now is the time. To me, mid-August to mid-September is the best crabs you'll eat all year. Austin, excited for Monday and joint practices. Absolutely. I mean, the joint practices are going to show us a lot because this is the time you get your hair up. This is the time you impress some coaches and smack that other guy. There's a lot of roster spots that could be determined by scrimmaging against Baltimore. That's why you got to do that. The governor said Logan Thomas wouldn't let us down. I don't know if I said we didn't want to let you down. I said I really like what he was doing on there. Mojo, I agree with you. Cole Turner has really good potential. He got hurt last year and had 2 catches. I don't control injuries. If I did, there'd be a few people walking down the street with walking funny. But I don't have that power. Am I going to Baltimore? No, I have other obligations, so I will not. I kind of sorry I can't, but I don't get paid full time anymore to be all around team every day. So, today was a 15-hour day, but I don't do every day like that anymore. Did it for many, many years. If you missed it, too bad. I was really good, but now I'm a columnist and I have other things to do. Working on a new book called Presidential Pours about U.S. presidents and their favorite drinks. Should be out by Christmas, I hope. We will see. All right, Sean says he stumbled on an interesting fact. Rivera, Del Rio, and Bienemy were all Americans in college. Okay, I didn't necessarily know that. Has it ever been done? Probably. I don't know, but I would say probably. I mean, these guys were all good ball. Most of them were good ball players. Recent years, coaching has become more of a family thing. It's hard to become a pro coach. You got to almost know somebody. The days somebody was telling me about the high school coach. I said, a high school coach is a million to one to ever see the NFL. He can get to colleges, but even then, to move up in the college ranks, it's hard. And just think how many coaching trees are family trees now in the NFL. Makes it even harder on there. So I forget my point, but that's what it was. Our NFL officials at joint practices, asked Gabe, usually. This is the first time I think in 8 years Washington has had it. Part of that was Richmond did not allow them to travel to a home and home kind of scrimmage situation. And nobody wanted to just come to Richmond and not get an obligation back. So that hurt them for a while. Then COVID came along. Then they thought they had something in Buffalo last year, and the JD McKissick thing kind of blew that up. So they should go back to Baltimore. I remember when Gibbs was around. Usually they were in Carlisle. They would practice the Eagles, who weren't too far away. Then when they moved to Frostburg, Washington practiced against Pittsburgh for about 5 years, and then they've done Baltimore once in a while since. But I even went with them one time. They were in Tampa Bay for doing this. One time in Miami. Both times big fights on there. They were in 10 Nashville once. I forget who that was against. So they have a history of this. It's all good because you get to see something different. They still can't hit quarterbacks, but you see a lot of good stuff. What was the deal with Eric Flowers being real productive this time here? Russell Prince said. So Eric Flowers comes here to be a tackle and looks awful. I remember watching practices. He looked awful. So they moved him to guard, and he looked really good. And he did well here. Then he got a better free agency offer elsewhere and stunk. Wasn't a good fit. Came back here for a time. Then they decided to move on from him. Mr. TMR hopes the Commanders knock out the Ravens' winning streak in the preseason. Now 24 in a row. He just barely survived again. I mean, but hey, I got nothing. I know everybody says who cares, but you know what? Like Lombardi said, winning's not a sometimes thing; it's an everyday thing. Get your preseason 4-0. Does that mean anything? Well, I tell you what it means. If you start off the season, say 1-4, like we've been hearing lately, and you were 1-2 in a preseason, it just feels like you haven't won in forever. So it's a good attitude thing to win preseason games. It doesn't mean anything in the grand scheme, but it helps mentally, I think. You get people used to winning, try and win some close games, all that kind of stuff. I have nothing against that. I have a lot of respect for Harbaugh protecting that streak. Joshua, do I expect Kendall Fuller to be re-signed? No, I don't think so. After the season, they got a lot of good young talent, and I think they'll go cheaper that way. LimeWire, thanks for noticing. A lot of years. I've been around the team 40 years, not every year. My younger days, I'd just help out. First 10 years, I would just be out there here and there. I was a young reporter with hair. But last 30 have been pretty steady. Well, I plan on doing a 53-man roster, Mativ. Nah, lots of people do that. I don't want to be just another guy that does that. I never have. So I see this year it'll be tougher to do. I'll bet you, because there's a bunch of jobs that it could be not so much starting, but reserves could go different ways. And practice squads, sometimes they opt to put them there. Mojo, would Trent Williams still be here if not for Bruce Allen? Probably. That's a real loss. I think they lost them and they lost Sheriff because of Bruce Allen being an idiot. And there's two Pro Bowl guys. This offensive line would look a lot better. Antoinette, heard Andy Reid's practices are brutal. Do you think he's trying to do that? Yeah, yeah. I mean, you learn from the master, so you follow that plan. You saw what worked with Andy, so I don't know if they're brutal. I know there was a lot of talk last week about players were like, "Oh, he's pushing us too hard." And when you win that Super Bowl trophy, you'll appreciate this guy kicking you in your butt. Your best work is when somebody's riding you. That's just basic human nature. We all wish we could be left alone to do our best work, but in actuality, we do our best work when somebody is pushing us. And if I'm pushing you, people come through this about every average person watches about 15 minutes. So I'll repeat stuff at times. If you can hit the thanks button, I appreciate it. The other day we used a fundraiser. Today I'm keeping it, but we raised $100 last time for my people in Hawaii. So I sent that to the Red Cross. But today we'll send that to me. So if you appreciate content and you don't mind paying for something once in a while, hit the thanks button. It's that dollar sign below. $2, $5, 2 bits, 4 bits, 6 bits, a dollar, whatever, man. I'll holler out at you on there. And one other thing, as you see on the whiteboard, getthecommandpost.com, code Rick. If you, some of you have started already reading it. It's a paper on the commanders. A lot of you are new, so it's got a lot of features, and it's devoted solely to the commanders. I've written for it for about 30 years, but honestly, we're one of the last few papers in the NFL, and we could use some support. So I know everybody likes to do everything free on the internet, but we got to eat too. So if you can go to get the command post, as it says right there, code name Rick in there. We appreciate it. All right, back to your free programming. And if you can't do anything else, you're just a cheap SOB who won't help me at all. Hit that thumbs up button. Don't hit the thumbs down button. I'll block you out of here. If I learned how to do that, I would. But at least hit the thumbs up button, if nothing else. All right. Well, Josh Harris be doing front office moves before season kickoff. Well, he's already done a few, Greg. He hired a guy just to worry about the stadium. So he's got to start on that. He hired a CFO. My feeling on front office financial side jobs is I don't care because that's nothing I'm worrying about. That's the business of the team. I'm worried about the football end of the team. So I may notice something once in a while, but I don't really get hung up on who's the CFO of this team. Don't care. And really, you guys shouldn't either. What do you care? You worry about the football side. Let's see. Austin thought there was potential with Smith before the injury. Yeah, I kind of agree with that. So Alonzo just kind of says he's enjoying what he's seeing here with the coaches. Yeah, and the offensive line coach, Wharton, had to undergo surgery. They announced today. I'm not sure when he's coming back. He had back surgery. Steve, thank you so much for chipping into the cause. Will they change the name? I think they will eventually, but when is that? I'm not sure. But I would say a few years from now, I think there'll be a different name on this team. What is it? I don't know. I don't want to argue about Red Hogs and Red Wolves right now. That's just, we've had so many things to deal with. Take a breath from this thing. Nothing's going to happen there for a while. Take a breath, enjoy the games, and watch some football, and leave this crap alone for a while. Man, you can tell we're 15 hours today. Me and Bean. All right, Eli. I wonder what the odds are that Bieniemy ends up taking over for Ron after season. 0. I don't know. I don't see that at all. I know all of you were already wanting to fire Ron. Take a breath. Enjoy the preseason. Quit trying to make everything in the future happen now. What are you guys doing, man? Enjoy the moment. This is the first free breath that you've been able to take in 25 years. Take it. Take the breath and wait for the other stuff to come. All right? Because I'm wore out by it, to be honest. Wore out about talking about the names and all that stuff. Let's just worry about ball for a while. And let's see. BRL, what happened to Sam Ray's? They just got tired of trying to develop him, and he had some injury problems. And I don't think anybody else has picked him up. Good athlete, but the NFL is not about being a good athlete, about being a good football player. Austin's happy Ron's kept the ship steady. Ron is as happy a person right now as I've seen him in 3 years. Now, in his 3 years, he had to deal with his personal cancer crisis, COVID, team sale. I mean, one scandal after another. So we're all kind of like, let's just take our breath. Yep, Sean, I guess I'm just being honest with you about these things. I'm being honest with you. That's what I do. I don't hold my, opinions. I'm an old newspaper man. We tell you the truth. That's why you come here. We could be here and go, woo, let's do this and this and this. And you got other places to go for that. And I invite you to go, quite frankly. So, if you want to know what's really going on, if somebody who's been around forever, that's what I'm here for. Otherwise, I'm not here to cheerlead on the name topics and all. There are lots of people out there who you can go do that with. And since this is free, yeah, if people don't come, I'm losing money. All right, the future is now, said Steve. Yeah, that's a good one, Steve. All right. And there's a biography coming out on George Allen this fall. So I haven't seen it, but I've heard about it. And it's one of the guys that writes occasionally about the team. So we'll see what he has. Be interesting to, I'll look at it. All right. Let's see. What if we win the Super Bowl with the name Commanders? Does it stay? Asked Mojo. Yeah, pretty much. I'm pretty sure that is, going to come back. Austin, Ron's done a lot with a little. It's an understatement. Yeah, I mean, I think some of the last 2 years, Snyder's money problems kept him from really being in the free agent market in any big way. That's not Ron's fault. I'm not saying Ron's been the greatest coach in the world, but he certainly has had to take on a lot of stuff that's not his. But that's the way it goes sometimes. Are joint practices with Baltimore open to the public? Dennis, yes. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if you can still get tickets. I go to the Ravens website and see what their update is on it. It's probably going to be harder to get in there. Bob, when am I doing another pizza video? Well, Bob, I was going to eat some pizza today, but they were closed. So we didn't get a chance. But actually, I think I have another pizza coming up in the next couple weeks. I've got it scheduled. I forget when it is. It'll be coming. Sean would trade this crappy name in exchange for a Super Bowl. Well, hell yeah. You trade your firstborn for a Super Bowl. Yeah. All right. Eli, even if we were signing free agents, it's not Snyder would have had signed good ones. Yeah, that's true too. God, Snyder used to throw some money on the fire, man. Be interesting to see what he does. I bet he gets a soccer team over in Europe. Not one of the good ones, maybe one of the small ones. They have several tiers and all that. Good, go do that. Leave me alone. I don't wish him well. I just wish him to be gone. Notice today, Dan Snyder's house, Potomac, Maryland, was dropped 14 million on the sale price. Went to I think 35. And he still has the Mount Vernon place he bought. He paid 48 million for it, plus 2 million for the furniture, and that's sitting empty too. They fired the staff and nobody's there. I guess security guards there, so don't go raiding it. But this place in Potomac, yeah, I mean, I think it's worth. It's a huge place. I've never been inside. Dan never invited me. Let's see. Does Sam Howell solidify his spot yet? AJ asked. I would say as long as he plays decent against Baltimore, then he'll start. If he just dies out there on that field against Baltimore Monday, I guess that leaves a chance to Brissett does it. But he would have to be like 3 of 15 with 2 picks and that kind of thing. So there's a chance. All right, Sean. Since my firstborn isn't in the room, yeah, okay. What was that crab cake sandwich I posted? Mojo asked. All right, so yesterday I posted a crab cake sandwich that was it's about a pound of meat. It's $22, which is a hell of a good deal. It's at Captain Billy's in Popes Creek, Maryland, which is sort of like the bottom of Southern Maryland, right on the border of Virginia. It's actually about half mile from where John Wilkes Booth crossed the Potomac. And Captain Billy's grandparents were around when that happened. He's now passed away too, but it's a really good crab house. It's my favorite crab house in the Washington area, Captain Billy's. And yeah, those, I put up a picture of that crab cake seen by about 20,000 people. And it was worth every penny. Is Mount Vernon house on the market on the water? No, Bob, I don't think it's quite on the water. It's near it. I don't think it's quite on it though. It's not like it was George's old home. It was actually rebuilt by a aerospace guy a few years ago. Gutted, knocked down the old place, built a Taj Mahal. It's a beautiful home. I've seen the pictures as a real estate agents, and I sold real estate for 10 years on the side. So I know what the ins and outs of these things are, and it's a nice place. I would buy that first. Ron talks too much. Stop it, Ron. EB will be the future head coach. Elijah says, I don't think so. I don't think EB is the next head coach of this team. But I could be wrong. And I'm not saying he's not going to do well. I just don't know that he will be the head coach here. Do I think Cooley would chill now with Dan gone and come back to visit? Asked Steve. I don't know. Chris is out doing his own thing, maybe. I mean, the question is Rigo. I was talking about that today with some people. Rigo hated Danny. And because Danny did the one thing Rigo hates. If you ever meet John Riggs, don't make a big fuss. Play it cool. Hey, John, how you doing? Nice to see you. Kind of don't sit there go, oh, Rigo, I love you, Rigo. Will you sign this for me? Oh, he hates people like that. And he'll just walk away from you. He doesn't like to be fussed over like that. So just play it cool and experience the moment. Maybe you can get a selfie after a minute, but that's Rigo for you. Play it cool, you get along with him better. He's a decent guy. Just doesn't like people, he gets tired of it. I can afford if everybody hits a super chat button, says Sheldon, I can afford Dan's home. Maybe the doghouse outside. But yeah, if you want to hit that super fan button, that $sign, I appreciate it. Are the Commanders the best team in DC? Whew, Eli asks that one. That's a wild one. I would say yes, because the Wizards, the Caps are, floundering around 500. The Nats have outplayed what my expectations were this year. I'll give them that. I mean, they're playing about 426 winning percentage. I think. I mean, they're getting better. But I expect Washington maybe have a winning season. So yeah, they probably are. It's a good question. Thoughts on tight end, Spider Monkey? I think they have a good, deep group of guys, and I think between all of them, they're going to catch a hell of a lot of balls in this offense. Let's see, Sean. The draft day trade with New Orleans, moving back several spots in exchange for picks, turned into Hal, B-Rob, Dotson, among others. Could prove to be one of the greatest moves ever. It would rank up there with the time they traded the pick, and it turned. And they still got Champ Bailey. When New Orleans moved up, they got Bailey, and they got a pick that turned into Chris Samuels. So that was a really good one too. Let's see, Alonzo, what happened to football life for my great aunt Dex? Don't know. It's a good one. Why don't you think EB will be the next head coach? The question is, Mojo, if Harris decides to change coaches after this season, which he might, then you have to say, what kind of guy does Harris like? Head coaches, owners don't pick head coaches quite off of resumes. And it's who they like, who they think, obviously you have to impress the guy. And then, and he'll be around EB all season, so he'll know what EB's about. There won't be any secrets there. And EB, I guess, would get first shot at interviewing. And I don't know how Harris feels about him, because Harris is new. I like Harris. The guy's out in the rain, sitting in the first row of the seats. Danny never left his confined suites. That was pretty cool. He seems like a decent guy. Seems like an average Joe for a billionaire. Buy everybody a beer. He seems like an okay guy. Now we'll see what happens, but I think in the end, this team benefited so much better by Harris getting the team over Jeff Bezos. Bezos isn't from here. Harris is. Not that helped with Danny, but it's not a bad thing either. But Bezos would have been a business deal and more of an absentee owner. And maybe he goes to Seattle, where he's from, and gets that team, and that might be a better fit. But I like the Harris thing so far. Rigo's a down-to-earth guy. He's next to have his number retired. Okay, Mojo. Next guy up to get his retired. It's either Rigo or Darryl Green. And I think I would go Darryl Green because he played here 20 seasons and was part of Super Bowls too, and one of the greatest players of his time. If Rigo came back, I was talking to somebody today. I said, it'd be worth it to pay Rigo to come back. It'd be $1 million to say, Rigo, go out on the 50-yard line and bow to all four corners of the stadium and wave to the crowd. It would be one of the greatest things ever. Be worth the $1 million to pay him. I'm not saying they're going to pay him that. I'm just saying it would be worth it in publicity. Ever seen Sean Taylor's A Football Life? Alex, I probably have, but I don't remember. I knew Sean Taylor, so whatever they have, often I already know this stuff. It's like I haven't been watching quarterback much. I watched a couple episodes and thought, And I think this is really interesting for a lot of you, but having been around it a lot, especially Kirk, um, there's not a whole lot new for me. Haven't seen Hard Knocks yet. Can I explain dressing three quarterback rule this year? Bob asked. All right. So if your first two get hurt, you can play your third quarterback, but the other two can't come back in. But before you wouldn't even been able to play your third quarterback. You would have been inactive. So he is active, but he can't be a go in for one play. If he's in, he's in. Most overrated and underrated Redskins from the past, yeah, Sean. I mean, I have terrible at questions like that. Overrated, Jeff George. Jeff George was one of the greatest practice quarterbacks you'd ever see. No throw he couldn't make. But in games, not so much. And underrated, wow, I'd have to think about it, to be honest, to give you a real answer. Art Monk should have his number retired as well, says Eli. Okay, but he's after Daryl and Rigo, and then at some point you got to stop this because you can't just keep. That's what the Ring of Fame thing is for. Could Rigo still wear that uniform? Probably. It wasn't like he was a trim 180 or something, Steve. Mojo, Rigo should come back with full uniform again. Yeah, just put on 44, right out in the middle of the field, wave. You guys remember he bowed to the crowd. That would be awesome. All right, AJ, can we put Hard Knocks in season? I don't know. I haven't heard anything about that yet. I'm waiting. I'd rather see it during the season. Rigo should have a statue, and a real statue, says Alex. Yeah, him shedding Don McNeil where he's pushing him kind of there, that play in the Super Bowl. Absolutely, that'd be a great statue. No doubt. That's probably the Super Bowl run is probably Super Bowl win, and then they won two more. So I think it's probably the single most important play. Bob, so if let's see. Yeah, if the third quarterback is in the game, he has to play the rest of the game. Yeah, that's my understanding of it. Alonzo, remember when Dirty Waters broke Jess Atkinson's ankle and the whole team was really mad? Yeah, I remember that. And that's when they went on strike. So Jess was on the picket line with the cast on his foot. I think he was wearing a wheelchair for that one. I knew Jess. I covered Jess when he played high school soccer. I think that was my first year as a reporter. And he played at Crossland High School, which isn't far from FedEx. And he was very good. His sister was a all-med guard in basketball in town. She was really good. We always laugh. She was the better athlete. And Jess kicked at Maryland, and then came. He did a bunch of teams in the NFL. Now has a video production company where he makes a lot of really great stuff. How was my relationship with Rigo? Did I cover him? Yeah, Mojo, I covered him, but I was kind of like a kid in the room, and Rigo didn't really like reporters. So I don't know. I guess Rigo could tell you. Sometimes the old guys don't remember me because I looked a lot different, 25 years ago. So, with hair and all that, and my own teeth. And so, it's kind of funny. Doug one time said, "Yeah, I don't remember." It's like, Doug, it was 25 years ago. That's why. But yeah, I mean, so Rigo was a grouchy guy to deal with, to be honest, in the media. A lot of them were. Then those great teams weren't exactly the most media-friendly people. Okay, so Sean, the historic players running out of the crowd at halftime during the last game was epic. Yeah, I mean, the one thing Bruce Allen did right was start getting back the alumni, so people could see him again. I think that's a great thing. Who doesn't want to go get to meet some of these historic people? And unfortunately, most of the guys in the 70s now are aging out. It's kind of hard for Sonny to come back and all that. They're in their late 80s now. But the modern era of the Super Bowls in the 80s, those guys are still around. Let's see, Alonzo. I don't remember the Flutie Flakes. I remember Flutie Flakes, but I don't remember the incident you're talking about on there. All right, so what we got? Oh, we're halfway through the show. Good. Long day. When you're out in that heat, man, it takes something out of you. Okay, let's see. So while we got to pause for new questions, like I said, if any of you, we rotate new people all the time. So Command Post got a lot of great features, all about the team. Always show the same stupid page every time. We have all kind of stuff that you can see. Totally about the team. Get the Command Post. .com and then use the code name Rick, and you can read your copy. And I know some of you have, and I do appreciate you doing that. We have too many legends. That's the problem with retired numbers. Yeah, a little bit that, and there's also Mojo. It's also that um, the rosters are so big now. With the expanded practice squads and all that. So it's hard to hide numbers away because eventually you do it too many times, you got a problem. They just had a guy come. They cut the punter that they had came in. He did zero, and the team said first player to ever have zero. And then one of you out there sent me an old media guy from 1958 that showed a guy who was zero here for a running back for 3 years, 58 to 60. So I didn't even remember that one. How Sean? How was the chat for the preseason game? It went really well. Even despite the long rain delay and before, but we had 1,100 plus people come through, and so I appreciated that. And I might do it for the Thanksgiving Day game because usually I'm on deadline. I'm working. I don't have time to do a chat. I got a real job here covering this team. So, but that one was a Friday night, and I wasn't on deadline. And it was a road game too. So, if I'm at the stadium, especially, I can't do it. But it was fun on there. Whatever happened to Wilbur Marshall? I don't know. I haven't heard from him in a long time. Um, Alex says, yeah, you can't be like the Yankees. In baseball teams, they got 26 players. Football teams got twice as many players plus practice squad guys. So it's just not as easy. Any Pat Fisher stories, Mojo asks? I remember his own teammates. I mean, if you meet Pat Fisher today, I guess he's in his 80s. He probably weighs 125 pounds. You just see this old guy and go, this is the dude who scared his own teammates. But I mean, players would tell me Pat was so wild in the huddles that he would be literally foaming at the mouth, and he kind of scared his own teammates. He was so intense, and he would go against Harold Carmichael, who was like a foot taller, but Pat would beat the snot out of you because he knew that's how he kept his job, and he had no problem doing it. So, Pat could just man, he hit people harder than any. Probably weighed 150 when he played football, but he brought all the force he could. Eli, was I an Orioles fan before the Nats came? Well, I was a Senators fan. Then they left. Then I became an Orioles fan. So I love baseball. It's my favorite sport. And I got to pick up the Orioles in the 70s when they had all those great teams, and some of the 80s I followed them. But when we got the Nats back and Angelos tried to prevent it, I was like, you're dead to me. I'm done. I do wish the Orioles fans happiness this year. They deserve it as much as the Commanders fans do. And I hope the Orioles go to the World Series. I'd love to see them win because that city loves baseball and deserves better than they've had in recent years. So I hope they get it. But I'm a Nats fan. Why is Brian Mitchell not in the Hall of Fame, Alonzo? Because voters are being stupid. Because absolutely Brian deserves to be in it. He's got the stats. He's second in all-time career yardage to Jerry Rice. Okay, the list is Jerry Rice, Brian. All right, I think that gets you there. I think he proved it. He was a good player. You give me 53 guys like Brian, forget the Super Bowl. I'll go conquer a country. I mean, he's intense. He still is like that. Brian hadn't changed a whole lot, but he's a good guy. He's one of those intense guys that was still a good guy to deal with. Some of them are just so wrapped up in it, they're hard to deal with. But he was good. He has a radio show now for those of you not in Washington. At 106.7 The Fan, where I also write columns for them. So you can listen to him from 10 to 2 with JP Finley. Joe Jacoby and Bostic should be in the Hall of Fame, says Eli. Joe, yes. Jeff, no. Jeff was a very good player, but a little, it's like Theismann. Those guys were on the cusp. But Hall of Fame, it's got to be the best. Let's see. Sean says Wilbur Marshall's name was added to the Florida Ring of Honor a few years ago. His knees are shot and he could barely walk. I hate to see when that happens. These guys, man, they get beat up. Let's see. What was my take on Kevin Brown's situation? Well, as a journalist, I don't want to see anybody First Amendment stepped on. And I think the Orioles took a black eye for what happened. I give Kevin a lot of credit for staying classy on that whole thing. Will I talk with Josh Harris next Monday night? Antoine asks. If the situation comes up, kind of doubt it though. I mean, I'm sure he's busy. So I doubt I do. Does Doc Walker have his own radio show? Alex ask. He works for 106.7 The Fan, which also owns 980 AM. I know he has a post game show, and he does a lot of fill-in work for the guests of shows. So I sort of has his own show. He's around a lot. Jim Lachey for Elijah says the Jim Lachey move basically for Jay Schrader was a genius move by Bobby Beathard. And yeah, the funny part is the Raiders had just traded for him from San Diego like 10 days earlier. So how weird was that? And trading for a Pro Bowl left tackle, trading your quarterback for that in mid-August, I can't remember the last time that happened. Scale 1 to 10, how satisfied was with the Commanders' first preseason game? 8. Hey, it was a decent game. Got to clean some stuff up, but I'll give him an 8. All right, Eli, it's just amazing how among the Hogs only one guy made the Hall of Fame. Yeah, I kind of agree that I think Jake deserved it, but the rest were they were very good players. But like I say, the Hall of Fame, man, it's not for very good players. It's for the greatest players of their generation. And those guys weren't that. Best kicker of the Dan Snider era, Tressway is a punter. Can I say that? I'd have to go through the list on the kickers. Sam Howell reminds me of Drew Brees, but with wheels, says Johnny Boy. I don't know if he had quite as Drew's arm, but I think Sam's going to be okay. Doc has a podcast, says AJ. Yeah, everybody has a podcast. Mine will be starting again with Matt soon. As soon as Matt's ready. Anyway, Washington can afford to keep both Young and Sweat. Luke, I doubt it. And if I had to throw my money down right now, I say they keep Sweat over Chase. But we'll see how the season goes. Sean, I wonder how much Harris is playing to the fans right now. Is it genuine? Is what you're asking? I think so. I don't see him as being calculated like that. Mojo, Bobby was ahead of his time, deserving of a statue. Yeah, if you're going to put statues up, Gibbs, Beathard, Rigo, Sonny, Bobby Mitchell. Could probably run through about 10. And the next stadium might have stuff like this. There's a lot of talk, but now we have new owners. We'll see what they think about these things. Alex, do I think Ryan Kerrigan's a good coach? Hard for me to really gauge, but I've liked what I've seen, and I know he's working hard at it. But I'm not in the room so much for his one-on-ones with, players. I can't really gauge a lot of that. Have not heard anybody say anything bad though. Let's see, Steve. I'm not saying he should be in the Hall of Fame, but I always thought Dave Butts didn't get enough credit. Well, no, I think people knew Dave Butts was a hell of a player. Mountainous dude. I saw him years later. He probably lost 100 pounds. He was a huge dude. How's Rigo doing? It seems like he's got his own stuff. He seems to be doing fine, Antoinette. On there, he's got things that he likes to do too. So on there. Okay, since we're going through the group again, we've got 20 minutes to go. So if you haven't heard this before, if you can do nothing else for me, hit the thumbs up button because the algorithm loves that. If you won't even do that for me, then hit end and go. Come on, man. If you can't even be enough to hit a button for me, then, what are you here for? So I appreciate everybody who does follow on it. But sometimes we have to say, listen, it can't be all free and one-sided, especially at the end of 15 hours. I spent an hour with you. I appreciate you showing some respect back like that. So that, or if you hit the $sign, we always appreciate the money. Helps keep things going, helps keep me going in this, because you're not going to get another guy with 45 years of sports writing in this town to talk to you like this and answer your questions. So sometimes I think that's worth a couple bucks. If not to you, then I don't know why you're watching. What was the exact moment that I realized Dan was not it, Mojo said. Well, Mojo, it was a Thursday at 8 o'clock. The wind was just coming out of the east, and I thought that was so weird because it comes out of the west. There was things. I think I can actually answer this question, though. I don't remember the date exactly, but it was when he tried to get Bobby Beathard to come be the GM, and they screwed it up. He talked to Beathard, and Beathard wasn't really interested, but was willing to talk about it. And Dan said, okay, I need your answer in an hour. And then Dan's lawyer would call Bobby every 10 minutes to say, you have 50 minutes left. You have 40 left. You have 30 left. At that point, Bobby is so mad that that's the end of that. And we all thought, God, what an idiot, you know, that he did that to Bethard, And that moment, we all thought, I thought, this is just stupid. I'd seen other things, but that moment, and that was early in things, the first couple of months. Steve, thank you so much. I always appreciate your help. The video I did about Josh Harris spot on. Thank you. Well, occasionally I get something right. You wouldn't know it to read comments, but Mojo, how does the selection process work for the Ring of Fame? Well, the team itself decides that. They don't take any input. So in the past, they put in who they wanted, but they don't talk to us about it. You think they would? Um, did I see the report by Ken Rosenthal saying Angeles is trying to leave Camden Yards? Yeah, Bob. They're just negotiating. What the what the Orioles want is the parking area between uh, the two stadiums, and they want to develop it into something which would take a lot of parking away from, especially the Ravens. Um, Worth some money, I don't know. You can't ever have enough parking. But there's a train actually that goes like from DC, goes from BWI, and you can take the train right to M&T Stadium. It's like steps away from the door. I've been on it once. Who knew? I didn't know it. So if you want to ride instead of trying to fight that traffic up to Baltimore, which sometimes can be just awful, you can take a train there. Who knew that? All right. So yeah, they're just negotiating. Orioles are going nowhere. Although there's talk that Nashville and Charlotte may get Major League Baseball teams, and maybe the Angelos is go to Nashville with the Orioles, stay here, and with new owners. Mojo, they want the battery like the Braves have. I haven't seen the Braves' new place yet. I saw their last one, but not this one. Antoinette, how old was Abe Lincoln's son on the day of his assassination? Let's see. Um, his one Robert Todd was 22. Another boy I think was 7, and I think the other was 11, but I'm not sure. Robert Todd was 22. If that's the question you're asking, how old was Lincoln? Lincoln was 56. How old was Booth? 26. I do Lincoln assassination tours. If you're coming to Washington, believe it or not, I do a lot of fans out there who watch, and they want to, go on one of the tours. A lot of people come in for a game, and they come in the day before, and they go on tour with me. I just finished one, and got another one coming in next week. So if you want to do that, you can just reach out to me here on YouTube, or you can go to Monumental Thoughts at gmail.com and email me there. That's for tour guiding, please, not other stuff. I don't have time to respond to everything. It's amazing. And I am kind of semi-retiring. Been doing this since 1978. Don't know how many years you have left in life. I don't quite want to spend 80-hour weeks covering the team anymore. It's why I'm not there every day. Because if you're going to do this, you have to spend 80-hour weeks. Kime, all these guys, they spend 80-hour weeks. And I had a heart attack once already about it. You want to hear? All right, here's a funny story. So I have a heart attack. No, it's a funny story. But I had a heart attack at Redskin Park, and they saved my life there with Bubba Tire. And I ended up having to have a bypass. So if any of you have had bypass surgery for your hearts, and some of you have, um, the doc said, listen, this thing is good for 20 years. So I went and saw my cardiologist recently. I said, doc, 20 years sounded great, but we're 6 months away from that. Am I looking at something? I give her credit. She didn't blink. She goes, we just tell people that. We don't know. She said most people get these bypasses are much older and they're going to be dead within 20 years anyway. She said, as long as you take care of yourself, a bypass doesn't have an expiration date. I actually felt better after that, but I just thought it was funny when she said, yeah, we just say that. Wow, that's pretty funny. All right, what did Bruce scream as he jumped down the theater stage, Mojo? He said, oh, my ankle, my ankle. No, he said, Sic Semper Tyrannis, which means thus be the tyrants. It's what Brutus said when he stabbed Julius Caesar, and it's also the motto of state of Virginia. Well, Commonwealth of Virginia, sorry. He was being the Shakespearean actor that he was when he did that. Ryan, Con's one of the hardest working journalists I've seen. Absolutely. John works, John and I are tight. We've written books together. We covered the team together when we were both at the Washington Examiner for a few years. So we've worked together a lot of years, and John's done a great job. John has seen more sunsets at Redskins Park than anybody, including me. So he's done 30 years, but he's been there every day practically those 30 years. where I've wandered off the reservation when I can. So John does a great job for ESPN. All right, we got about 10 minutes to go. So if you want to give me money, God, I hate talking about stuff like this. I sound like such a whore, but it's, listen, this is how we do this thing. In the new world, you guys don't buy a newspaper anymore. We don't have these kind of jobs. You want to have people access like this, it helps to chip in a few bucks. And if you can't chip, if it's not worth $2 to you, I don't know why you're watching, to be honest. All right. So Eli said it's interesting that Ted Williams has done a great job as a cap owner, but horrible as a whiz owner. Well, that they did win a Stanley Cup, and he's done better with the Caps, and he's done awful with the Wiz. So I can't disagree with anything you say there. And I don't really know if I want him to be the Nationals owner, which right now he's the only bidder, but nobody seems to be going forward with that. But I would rather he not. I'd rather somebody else do it. Mojo, did Bubba and I remain friends? Yeah, I saw Bubba at the sale presser a couple weeks ago. Bubba's a great guy. And I appreciate Bubba saving my life because he said, "You're having a heart attack." I'm like, "No, Bubba, I'm not having a heart attack. If you have heart problems, please go see a doctor, please, because I got news for you. If you ignore it like I did, like an idiot, then it will come for you. So do yourself a favor and stay here." Russ, thank you so much for chipping in. And thanks for the bird. Whatever. It's pretty funny. I appreciate people like Russ and everybody else. Like I said, $2. I ain't gonna kill you. Do I think Washington will ever go back to Richmond for training camp? Antoinette asked. No, they are not going back. And the site's being developed, so it won't be there anyway. Ryan, I was going to be a journalist until I took journalism and found out how much is dying. Yeah, I feel for anybody young coming into journalism business. It was a great business for me, and I got all I could out of it. Um, but for the new people, it's going to be a different world. So I don't know if I would do that again, but maybe. I have no regrets. I'll say that. Paid okay. I got to see the world. Got to see a lot of stuff for free. Got to go to Japan for free, covering a game. I mean, there's a lot of great perks with it. I have nothing bad to say about this. Hunter. So the media loves Jason Wright. Seems like a great guy, but his role falls under a box of a lot of stuff. I'll leave it to Josh Harris to decide. I mean, I like Jason, but at the end of the day, everybody's judged on what their production is. So we'll see what happens. Luke, thank you so much. I appreciate that. We can see if this works. No, it didn't work. I still learn stuff. I don't know. Hit some button. Thank you so much, Luke. I appreciate it. Have I talked with EB? Yeah, I mean group pressers, but I haven't sat there one on one with them answering that. Everybody only has so much time to do those kind of things. We used to spend a lot more time with people one on one, but the access has been cut back so much that you don't get much opportunity to do that. And I'm sure EB works 20 hours a day. My whole thing with the name, says Ryan, is they start to win, just focus on football, and fans will get behind it. I agree with that. James, have I seen the Native American Guardian Association petition? Yeah, I have. God, they repeatedly text me about it or something, or tweet me about it. I wish them well. Go do what you want to do. I'm not for or against it. I just am tired of it. Thoughts on NAGA? I'm sorry, Alex. What is that? Is that North American Guardian Association? Okay, so you go do what you think is important. I don't take sides on certain things as a journalist. We try to stay neutral and just report the news. That's kind of without having opinions. But I am a columnist, so I am allowed to have opinions. Because if you don't have an opinion after 45 years of being in a business, you haven't done a very good job. So my job now is to be an elder and talk about stuff like this. And I actually talked about cursing with EB, and I had a difference of opinion on dropping f-bombs in front of people. An interesting thing is the church approached me about doing a sermon about profanity and how we should try to be better people. That's all I'm saying, try to be better people. I didn't say you're going to hell over it. And I thought it was crazy that someone wanted me to preach at a church. And then I thought about it and said, why not? It's a unique opportunity. I think I will do it sometime down the road. And I'll send the link whenever it is I do it. Were there ever times you thought Washington had a chance to win a Super Bowl under Snider? Ryan, yeah, when Sean Taylor died and they won a bunch of games at the end, and they go to Seattle, and I thought, man, this is destiny. They're going to get to the Super Bowl, and then Seattle KO'd them, and that was it. And Gibbs retired the next day, well, Tuesday of that week. I thought they were going to the Super Bowl that year. I just thought all the momentum and the karma and everything, man, was just there. But it didn't happen. I would say that's the only time. I mean, the one they lost in Tampa in '99, they lost in the second round, I guess. That was a good team. They might have gotten to the Super Bowl if they hadn't had that botch snap by Dan Turk. But that was like a 50-yard plus field goal. There's no saying it would have gone through. But that had its chance. But those are about it. Curtis Samuel thoughts, cool way to ask. I kind of wondered if he'd get lost, but playmakers don't get lost. They'll find a way to have him. He may run the ball a touch more than receive it at times, but Curtis Samuel looks good in the preseason here and training camps. Antoinette, is Magic Johnson a good person to interview? Well, just in the brief time of just in a group setting, it seems like people like Magic. I mean, he's one of those guys that everybody wants to be around and enjoy and laugh, and he seems like a cool dude. So I didn't cover him as a player, but I respect all the great things he's done in his life. What's the best advice you got in my journalism career? Asked Mojo. Yeah, I got tough love, and I was talking about EB yelling at people. I used to have an editor named Dick Heller at the Washington Times. He was an old newspaper man. He was a copy editor, and he used to just f bomb me to death about my column, my stories. You got to get better. You have sloppy stuff here. You got consecutive gerunds here, which really ticked him off, and I didn't know what that was. That's words with ing, and you can't have two of them together consecutively for you English majors. And he pushed me to the brink, but he made me so much better. And that's why I respect what EB is doing, because the hard work like that and tough love does help you. I'm not saying we all love it. There were many days I didn't, but it made a difference. And only best advice I could give people in journalism is just go work hard and try and do your best job. Just that's any job. Is this the best Washington team since 2015? Ryan asked. Probably. I think they can win 10 games, and they haven't done that since 2015. RG3's rookie year was the only hope. Mojo said, yeah. And then when he got hurt in that playoff game, that was it, man. The air went out of the tire. But that was an electric year. I give it that. Before he was hurt, RG3 was crazy. It was crazy good at training camp. People, it was like you cover the Beatles. Remember the Beatles would arrive and you had see those video clips of the women just screaming madly, like they had lost their minds. That's what fans were like for RG3 for 3 hours. 3 hour practices, you'd hear RG3. I mean, it never ever stopped. I'd never seen anything like that. I talked to some of the old writers and they told me they'd never seen anything like RG3's arrival. Now we had social media now, which I didn't then, but holy moly, that was insane. His own teammates before the season were calling him Black Jesus, which I don't particularly like that kind of reference. But I mean, is that the veterans even gravitated to him? It was everybody knew he was special. Then he got hurt, and then things got weird, and that was the end of that. Will Gibson play next Monday night? Don't know. He limped off the field today, but there was no medical report about it. I don't think there's anything really serious. What do I expect for Monday night against the Ravens? About starters and all. I think they'll probably play a half because this is really it. I mean, I don't know what they'll do in the third preseason game yet. Ron hadn't said. They might play a little more, at least the offense on there. And if somebody gets hurt, well, then that's just, the way it goes. They protected Ryan Fitzpatrick and he got hurt in the open, gone for the season. I mean, that's just how it happens. If you have to play him, you should play him for a little bit. It'd be nice to beat the Ravens, Alex says. Yeah, that would be kind of a funny thing to end their streak, huh? It would be funny. Just in that little Baltimore-Washington fan rivalry, you could always say that. I think in the 1960s, I was looking it up, Washington played the Colts pretty much every preseason. They played regularly in the regular season back then, fewer teams. And they didn't win one game in the 60s. I mean, they weren't very good in the 60s, but Baltimore was. I don't think they won one game against them the whole decade. Will Art Monk be more involved with the new ownership? James asked. No, Art's got some real health issues, and so he couldn't come to the presser last few weeks ago. And Art, you know, send Art your best wishes because Art could use them. He's getting older and he's got some health concerns, and I don't like to talk about people's business beyond that. I don't think it's right, but so I don't really see him doing anything with the team. Ryan says 10 more minutes. Well, okay, Ryan, that's a buck a minute. So send in a $10 donation. What can I tell you? So, Brice, are you going bowling tomorrow? I'm not very good at bowling. I liked the duck pin years ago, but you don't see that much anymore. Team used to go bowling years ago, but I don't hear players doing that anymore either. Drop a ball on your foot, you're out for the season. Yeah, we don't hear much of that. Bowling's cool, but you know how guys can put that spin on it. Give them that. One of my first jobs, I had to go to the bowling alley every week and pick up all the scores and type them all up on the agate page. Oh Lord, was that was exhausting. I remember doing that. Somebody owed me a big favor on the staff, and I made them do it one week. They typed all the bowling scores for me. Local paper, people love that kind of thing. David, you're late. Well, that's okay because if you miss the show, it's on replay, and it will, a few minutes after we're done here live, it goes right into replay. You can see the whole thing again. Outlook for the season, asked David. I'm going to go with 10-7. Why not? Got to win that Arizona game. Don't win that Arizona game. Arby's Cup. What's in my Arby's Cup? Diet Coke. Need a little bit of caffeine here. Do I think they'll change the uniforms? No, not initially, Antoinette, but I'm sure they'll do something because you change them anyway every few years just so you can sell new ones to you guys. It's expensive. I don't know. You guys are amazing. I just don't want to spend my money on anything. Is it possible to separate our history with the Redskins name in terms of covering it, or do you want to move on entirely? Mojo, that's really been something that I've kind of tried to think about in the last 2, 3, 4 years, whatever it's been now. And to me, I kind of decided if the person was a Redskin, I'll say he was a Redskin. I'll write Redskin because it would be stupid to go, Washington Commanders, Darryl Green, because it's stupid. He was a Redskin, so we're going to say Redskin, and I think that's fair. You can't wash away history like that. So if you were a Redskin, I'll use the word Redskin. I have no problem using the word Redskin. I know some people are, upset over it. That's their problem. I never thought they should have changed the name. I can't change uniforms for almost 5 years. Yeah, but you can always do things with it. I hate the black uniforms only because that's not this team. That's Pittsburgh Steelers or whatever. So I don't like. I know black sells real well. That's why they did it. But I just think it doesn't look like them. It's dumb. It's burgundy and gold. Let's see. So all right, and I don't. People every week go, "Oh, what are they going to wear this week? What color?" I don't know. I don't care. What looks good? Winning. The rest of it don't care. But Steve's dropping out, which means it's time for the show to end because Steve only watches the whole show or nothing at all. And he's always my first guy. So thank you, Steve, for letting me know it's time to go. Ryan, home opener is going to be crazy. I think it's going to be 90-10 Commanders fans. And because how many Cardinals fans are going to travel? How many Cardinals fans are there? I don't expect that. So it is going to be a home crowd, which will be great to see. And I think they can win that game, and the new ownership will be off to a great start. How much would it cost for Washington to change back to Redskins, Antoinette? I don't know. A lot of dough. I don't know. A lot of dough. I'm sure the new owners are running that spreadsheet now. Chloe, thank you for coming. I do appreciate it. And yeah, I'm getting ready to knock it off because like I said, I left my home at 6 a.m. this morning to go to practice. It's been a long day. What's the status of Julie Donaldson? She's doing the radio show, a radio broadcast. So that's about it. I haven't talked to her about it. That's her business. Thank all of you for coming. If you want to hit that $ button, thanks. I do appreciate it. Luke, thank you for coming. I'm the best over Lavera. Ooh, okay. Tommy and I have worked together. We worked together at the Times for many years and Examiner for many years, and we sit next to each other literally at the games. I guess they wanted the two oldest guys to sit by each other. And Tommy's spending this month in Spain, where he has his wife has family. So Tom is actually gone for the next month, and he puts out a photo once in a while, something in Spain. Good for him. He's older than me, and like I said, we want to have a little fun before we have to leave this earth. Can't be practice every day anymore. I don't know, Mojo, if it feel like RFK, but I don't know if you say that, but it'd be a home crowd on there. And Ryan, I don't know if it's going to be hogs. I don't know what it'll be, if it'll be anything. So anyway, if you've missed anything, you can watch on replay. Do appreciate that. If you want to subscribe to Command Post, here we go, Command Post. Go to getthecommandpost.com, put in Rick on the code, and you can see what that's all about. And Antoinette, thank you for coming too. Yeah, Matt's maybe next week we start the podcast. Well, we'll see. I got to ask Matt. Where's the Command Post paper? It's only you just have to order. Getthecommandpost.com. You can see it all there. Alex, thank you so much for coming. Everybody, thank you all for coming. I appreciate it. Hit that thumbs up button one more time for everybody so that the algorithm loves me, because the algorithm sends me a lot of people to watch. So when I do a show with Khan, I don't know. I've done his show. I don't know. I don't. John's busy, and I don't want to bug him for this. But I've done his show a few times. Does a great job. John's busy. I'm just older and phasing away, So that's why I have a little more time. But yeah, we're very good friends. So we'll see on there. All right, I'm out of here. So there you go. You thought I forgot about the bell, didn't you? But no, I got the bell. Anyway, I'm Rick Snider for Rick Snider's Washington. Thank you all so much for coming this hour, and probably next Tuesday, because Monday we got the game. So next Tuesday I'll do the show, and then try to stick to Mondays best I can. Anyway, that's it for today. Thank you so much, everybody. I'll see you soon.